Emma wiped sweat from her forehead as she carried 3 hot plates on her arm. She had been working for 12 hours straight at Riverside Cafe, and her feet hurt badly. The restaurant didn't have enough workers today, like most days lately, and Emma hadn't stopped moving since early morning. The restaurant was full of hungry customers. Orders were piling up in the kitchen. Emma hadn't taken a single break in hours. When she saw Lisa, the young woman who seated customers, bringing a family of 4 to her section, Emma felt her heart sink. A man in a nice suit at the table waved his hand at Emma as she walked past with food for another table. He looked impatient. "Just 1 minute, please," Emma called out, trying to smile even though she didn't feel like it. By the time Emma finally reached their table, the woman sitting with the man was looking at her watch with an annoyed face. "We've been waiting 15 minutes, the woman said in a cold voice. Something inside Emma just broke. All the problems of the past few months hit her at once. She was late on her rent payment, her father's hospital bills were piling up, and her boss Tom kept finding fault with her work no matter how hard she tried. "I'm sorry, but I can't serve you right now," Emma said, her voice shaking slightly. "There are other servers who can help you. I need a moment." She turned and walked away quickly, feeling tears starting to form in her eyes. Emma knew she had probably just lost her job, the job she desperately needed to keep her life from falling apart completely. Emma pushed open the door to the small break room and stood by the sink. Her hands were shaking as she splashed cold water on her face. The door opened behind her and Tom, the restaurant manager, walked in. His face didn't show what he was thinking. "The family you refuse to serve is asking to talk to you," he said quietly. Emma felt sick with worry. "I'll clean out my locker," she whispered, already thinking about how she would manage without this week's pay. "That's not what they said." Tom paused. "Just go talk to them." With her heart beating fast, Emma walked back to the dining room. The family was still at their table, but now there was also an older woman with beautiful silver hair sitting with them. This woman looked at Emma with kind eyes. "You're Emma?" the woman asked in a gentle voice. "Yes, ma'am. I want to apologize for—" "I'm Margaret Wilson," the woman said, not letting Emma finish. "My son William and his family were just telling me what happened." Emma felt cold with fear. The Wilsons. Everyone who worked at Riverside Cafe knew that name. This family had owned the restaurant for generations. They now owned many restaurants across the city but rarely visited this location anymore. "I didn't know who you were," Emma whispered, feeling even worse than before. Margaret's face softened. "No, you wouldn't have known, but we know who you are." "You've been working double shifts for weeks," Margaret continued. "Tom tells us you never complain. You cover for others when they can't come to work, and customers love you." Emma was confused. "How do you know all this?" "We may not come here often, but we care about our restaurants and the people who work in them," William explained. "We've been watching how this place is being run." Margaret nodded. "What you don't know is that we came here today especially to see you. Your breaking point just happened to come during our visit." Emma slowly realized what was happening. Was this some kind of test? "Not a test," Margaret said kindly. "An observation. This restaurant has been poorly managed for months. Staff working too hard, no proper training, bad scheduling. We needed to see it with our own eyes." Emma glanced nervously at Tom, who was standing nearby. "Tom isn't to blame," Margaret assured her. "He's been asking our main office for more help. Nobody listened. Until now," William added, giving Emma a meaningful look. Emma didn't know what to say. Just minutes ago, she thought her life was falling apart. Now, these important people seemed to be on her side. For the first time in months, she felt a small flicker of hope. The end Emma sat down in the empty chair the Wilsons offered her. Her mind was racing, trying to understand what was happening. Just minutes ago, she thought she would be fired. Now, the owners of the restaurant were talking to her like she mattered. "We're making changes," Margaret explained, her voice warm and sure. "Starting with this location." William nodded in agreement. "This restaurant has lost its way. The food is still good, but the heart is missing." Emma looked around at the busy dining room. Customers were waiting too long, servers were rushing, the kitchen staff looked stressed, She had noticed these problems for months but had no power to fix them. "We need someone who understands this restaurant from the inside," Margaret continued. "Someone who cares enough about good service to know when something is wrong. And brave enough to speak up, even when it might cost them." "I wasn't brave," Emma admitted, looking down at her hands. "I just couldn't take any more." "Sometimes that's the same thing," Margaret said with a gentle smile. "Breaking means you've been carrying too much for too long. We want to offer you a position as assistant manager with Tom teaching you." Emma's eyes widened in surprise. "But I just refused to serve you." "Why would you?" "Because you didn't storm out. You didn't quit. You simply knew your limits," Williams' wife Jane added. "That's what leadership is, knowing when to step back before you let everyone down, including yourself." "We don't need robots who never break," Margaret said. "We need real people who know how to put themselves back together." Emma couldn't believe what she was hearing. She had worked as a waitress for 5 years, ever since she was 18. No one had ever suggested she could do more. "When would I start?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Tomorrow," William said. "Your first job will be to help us understand what's really happening here." Emma took a deep breath. "The schedules are a big problem. People are working too many hours with no breaks. We're always short-staffed because workers keep quitting." Margaret nodded, writing notes in a small book she pulled from her purse. "What else?" For the next 20 minutes, Emma talked about all the things she had noticed but never had the chance to say. The kitchen was disorganized. Training for new staff was almost non-existent. The ordering system for supplies often left them without basic items. As she talked, Emma felt a weight lifting from her shoulders. For so long, she had carried these observations silently, feeling helpless to change anything. "This is exactly why we need you," Margaret said when Emma finally ran out of words. "You see the problems that we miss from our office across town." Tom had been listening nearby. Now he pulled up a chair and joined them. "I've been trying to tell head office about these issues for months," he said, "but they always want numbers and reports. Emma can explain it in a way that makes sense." Emma looked at Tom with new understanding. She had always thought he was part of the problem, but maybe he had been just as stuck as the rest of the staff. "We're giving this location a fresh start," William explained. "More staff, better training, new systems, and you two will lead the change." Emma thought about her tiny apartment, the stack of bills on her kitchen table, her father in the hospital. This promotion would mean more money, more regular hours. It would change everything. "I don't know what to say," she admitted. "Say yes," Margaret encouraged. "We need people who care enough to reach their breaking point." Emma looked around at the restaurant again, but this time with new eyes. She saw possibilities instead of problems. She imagined what this place could become with the right changes. "Yes," Emma said firmly. "I want to help make this place better." Margaret reached across the table and squeezed Emma's hand. "Sometimes our worst moments lead us to our best opportunities." As Emma stood up to return to work, she felt different. The same tables needed serving, the same orders needed delivering, but something had changed inside her. For the first time in months, she felt hopeful. "I'll finish my shift today," she told the Wilsons, "and tomorrow we can start fresh." William smiled. "That's the attitude we need. See you in the morning, Assistant Manager Emma." As Emma walked away, she had to blink back tears again, but this time they were tears of relief and hope. Sometimes life changed in the most unexpected ways. The end. The first week as assistant manager was harder than anything Emma had done before. She arrived at Riverside Cafe early each morning and stayed late into the evening. There was so much to learn. Ordering supplies, making schedules, handling customer complaints, and training new staff. Tom was patient with her. "You're doing better than I did when I started," he told her on Friday afternoon as they sat in the small office going over the week's sales. Emma rubbed her tired eyes. "I feel like I'm always one step behind." "That's normal," Tom assured her. "But the staff already respect you. They know you've been in their shoes." This was true. The waiters and kitchen workers who had been Emma's co-workers just days ago now looked to her for guidance. They shared problems with her that they had never mentioned to Tom. "Lucy is struggling with the dinner rush," Emma told Tom. "She's new and gets overwhelmed when too many orders come in at once." Tom nodded. "What do you think we should do?" Emma thought for a moment. "I could work alongside her for a few evenings. Show her some tricks I learned for handling multiple tables." "Good idea," Tom said. "That's why the Wilsons chose you. You know what it's like on the floor." By the end of the second week, Emma had created a new training system for servers. She wrote down all the small but important things she had learned over her years of waiting tables: how to carry multiple plates, how to remember orders without writing everything down, how to handle angry customers. "This is brilliant, William," Wilson said when he visited to check on their progress. "We should use this at all our restaurants." Emma blushed at the praise. "It's just common sense stuff." "Common sense isn't common," William replied. "You have a gift for teaching." The biggest challenge came in the third week. Margaret Wilson called to say they were sending 10 new staff members to help with the restaurant's fresh start. 10 new people at once? Emma asked, feeling panic rise in her chest. "How will we train them all?" "That's for you to figure out," Margaret said, but her voice was kind. "We trust you, Emma." That night, Emma couldn't sleep. She sat at her small kitchen table with a cup of tea, thinking about how to handle this new challenge. Her father, now home from the hospital, watched her with concern. "You'll find a way, love," he said. "You always do." Emma smiled at him gratefully. Thanks to her new salary, she had been able to pay off some of his medical bills and hire a part-time caregiver to help him during the day. "I'm just worried about letting everyone down," she admitted. Her father reached across the table and patted her hand. "Remember how you used to organize all the neighborhood kids when you were little? You'd arrange them into teams for games and make sure everyone knew the rules. You've always been a natural leader." Emma had forgotten about that. As a child, she had always been the one to take charge, to make sure things ran smoothly. The next morning, she arrived at the restaurant with a plan. She would pair each new worker with an experienced staff member. They would learn by doing, not just by being told what to do. "It's like an apprentice system," she explained to Tom. "Everyone learns differently, but everyone learns better by watching and then trying." Tom looked impressed. "Let's do it." When the new staff arrived, Emma welcomed them warmly. She remembered how nervous she had been on her first day years ago. "You're not expected to know everything right away," she told the group. "That's why we're here to help you learn." Over the next few days, Emma watched as the new system took shape. There were problems, of course. One new waiter dropped an entire tray of drinks, and a new cook burned 2 orders of the daily special. But overall, things were working better than Emma had expected. By the end of the month, Riverside Cafe felt like a different place. The dining room hummed with efficient energy. Customers commented on the improved service. Even the kitchen, once a place of stress and shouting, now worked with calm precision. "You've done something remarkable here," Margaret told Emma when she and William came for a surprise visit. "In just 1 month, you've transformed this restaurant." Emma shook her head. "It wasn't just me. It was everyone working together." "That's true leadership," William said. "Not doing everything yourself, but bringing out the best in others." As Emma looked around at what they had accomplished, she felt a deep sense of pride. From her lowest moment had come her greatest achievement. The end 3 months after becoming assistant manager, Emma faced her biggest challenge yet. The Wilsons wanted to use Riverside Cafe as the model for all their restaurants. They were bringing managers from their other locations to observe for a week. "They need to see exactly how we turn things around," William explained during a phone call. "You'll need to show them everything." Emma hung up the phone and felt a wave of doubt wash over her. She had grown more confident in running the restaurant, but teaching others how to do what she had done? That seemed much harder. "What's wrong?" Tom asked, noticing her worried face. "The Wilsons want me to teach the other managers our methods," Emma explained. "I'm not sure I can do that," Tom laughed. "Emma, you've been teaching people since your first day in this position. You're a natural at it." Emma wasn't convinced, but she began preparing anyway. She gathered all the training materials she had, created the new scheduling system, and the improved ordering forms. She made simple handouts explaining each part of their new approach. The morning the visiting managers arrived, Emma felt sick with nervousness. There were 6 of them, all older than her, all with more experience. They looked at her with doubtful expressions. "This is Emma Porter," William introduced her proudly. "The person responsible for the amazing changes here." A tall man named Robert spoke up first. "No offense, but I've been managing restaurants for 15 years. What could someone so young teach me?" Emma took a deep breath. "Maybe nothing," she said honestly. "But I can show you what worked for us. Then you can decide if it might work for you too." Instead of starting with a boring presentation, Emma took the group onto the restaurant floor. "The best way to understand is to see it in action," she explained. She showed them how the servers worked in teams, supporting each other during busy times. She demonstrated the new ordering system that reduced kitchen mistakes. She introduced them to staff members who explained their roles with pride. By lunchtime, Emma noticed the managers were asking more questions, their doubt turning to interest. Even Robert seemed impressed by the smooth operation during the busy lunch rush. "How did you get everyone to work together so well?" he asked. Emma thought about it. "I think it's because we listen to everyone's ideas. The person doing the job often knows best how to improve it." After lunch, Emma shared a story about Lucy, the young waitress who had struggled when Emma first became manager. "Instead of just telling her to work faster, we asked what would help her," Emma explained. "Lucy said she got confused when taking orders from large groups, so we created a simple numbered system for table positions. Such a small change, but it made a huge difference for her confidence. And now Lucy is one of our best servers," Tom added. "She even trains new staff." As if on cue, Lucy appeared with a tray of coffee for the meeting. She smiled confidently at the group. Emma changed everything here, Lucy told the managers. "Before I was ready to quit. Now I look forward to coming to work." That afternoon, Emma showed them the practical tools she had created, the training guides, the scheduling templates, the inventory systems. She explained everything in simple terms, never trying to sound more important than she was. "The key is that none of this is complicated," she emphasized. "Good restaurant management isn't about fancy methods. It's about caring for your people and your customers." By the end of the day, even Robert was taking detailed notes. The other managers were asking if they could take copies of Emma's materials back to their restaurants. William pulled Emma aside as the day ended. "You've impressed them all," he said quietly. "Even the skeptical ones." Emma smiled, feeling relieved. "I just showed them what we do here." "You did more than that," William corrected her. "You inspired them. That's a rare gift." That evening, the Wilsons hosted a dinner for all the managers at Riverside Cafe. They sat at a large table in the center of the restaurant, experiencing the service as customers. Margaret raised her glass in a toast. "To Emma," she said, "who proved that sometimes the best leaders come from unexpected places." As everyone clinked glasses, Emma felt a surge of pride unlike anything she had experienced before. 6 months ago, she had been a stressed, overworked waitress at her breaking point. Now she was teaching others and making real change. Later, as the dinner wound down, Robert approached Emma. "I owe you an apology," he said. "I judged you before I knew what you could do. You've taught me more in one day than I've learned in years." Emma smiled. "We all have something to teach and something to learn." The Endone year had passed since the day Emma had refused to serve the Wilson family. The date didn't go unnoticed. Margaret Wilson herself had marked it on the calendar, in the manager's office with a small star. "Today is your anniversary," Margaret said when she arrived at Riverside Cafe that morning. She handed Emma a small blue box. "A little something to mark the occasion." Emma opened the box to find a beautiful silver pin in the shape of a small bird taking flight. "It's lovely," she said, feeling touched by the gesture. "It reminded me of you," Margaret explained, "taking off just when it seemed you might fall." The restaurant had changed dramatically over the past year. It was now the most successful location in the Wilson family's chain. The training program Emma had created was used in all 15 of their restaurants across the city. Emma herself had changed too. She no longer wore the black and white uniform of a waitress but dressed in professional clothes. Her hair, once pulled back in a hasty ponytail during long shifts, was now neatly styled. She carried herself with quiet confidence. "The regional manager position is still open," Margaret said as they walked through the dining room, checking that everything was ready for opening. "William and I both think you're ready for it." Emma paused by a table, straightening an already perfect napkin. "That would mean leaving Riverside." "Yes," Margaret agreed. "You would oversee 5 restaurants, including this one, an office downtown, more money, more responsibility." Emma had been thinking about this offer for weeks. The promotion would mean she could finally buy a small house for herself and her father. The extra money would ensure his medical needs were always covered. "Can I tell you this evening?" Emma asked. "I need a little more time to think." Margaret patted her arm. "Of course, dear. Take all the time you need." As the morning went on, Emma found herself watching the restaurant with new eyes, knowing she might soon be leaving it. She saw Tom confidently leading the morning meeting with the staff. He had grown into his role as manager over the past year, no longer needing her daily guidance. Lucy, once the struggling new waitress, was now head server, training 2 new employees with patience and skill. In the kitchen, the once chaotic environment was now orderly and efficient under the direction of head chef James, who had been Emma's suggestion for promotion. During the lunch rush, Emma noticed a young waitress named Beth looking overwhelmed, as a large party was seated in her section. Without hesitation, Emma stepped in to help. "Let me show you a trick for handling big groups," she said kindly, remembering how Lucy had once struggled with the same challenge. Together, they handled the table smoothly. When they were done, Beth's face showed relief. "Thank you," she said. "I was about to panic." "Everyone feels that way sometimes," Emma assured her. "The secret is knowing when to ask for help." Later, as Emma was checking inventory in the storage room, she overheard 2 kitchen workers talking. "I was about to quit before Emma became manager," one was saying. "Now I wouldn't leave for anything. She made this place worth working at." The other agreed. "My brother works at Royal Grill across town. He says they need someone like Emma there. The managers don't listen to the staff at all." Emma closed her eyes, thinking about the regional manager position. If she took it, she could help more restaurants, more workers like Beth. She could spread the changes she had made at Riverside to other locations that needed them. By evening, Emma had made her decision. When Margaret returned, Emma was waiting in the office. "I'm ready for the regional position," Emma said firmly. "But I have one condition." Margaret raised her eyebrows. "What's that?" "I want to start by focusing on the restaurants that are struggling the most," Emma explained. "The ones with high staff turnover and low customer ratings." Margaret smiled. "Just like Riverside was a year ago." "Exactly," Emma nodded. "Those are the places where I can make the biggest difference." "I think that's a wonderful approach," Margaret agreed. "You can start next month. We'll need time to find your replacement here." Emma shook her head. "No need. Tom is ready to take over, with Lucy as his assistant manager. They know this restaurant as well as I do now." As they walked out through the dining room, Emma looked around at what they had all built together. From a place of stress and frustration, Riverside Cafe had become somewhere people wanted to be, both customers and staff. William Wilson was waiting for them by the door. "Well?" he asked. "Do we have a new regional manager?" Emma nodded. "You do. I'm ready for the next challenge." William smiled broadly. "I never doubted it. Not since that day you refused to serve us." Emma laughed, pinning Margaret's gift to her jacket. "Sometimes the worst moments lead to the best opportunities. I just needed someone to see the potential." "No," Margaret corrected gently. "You needed to see it in yourself. We just gave you the chance." The end.